2025 MotoGP Mandalika Sprint Race turned into one of the most dramatic and nerve-wracking battles of the season, with Marc Marquez right at the center of the storm. Starting from an uncharacteristic 9th place on the grid, after struggling throughout practice and qualifying, the 8-time world champion faced a series of obstacles, including a controversial penalty, before salvaging an impressive 7th place finish. From the opening lap, it was clear Marquez was determined to fight back. Launching aggressively off the line, he quickly began carving his way through the pack, aiming to reach the top positions. But chaos struck when he clashed with Monster Energy Yamaha rider Alex Rins in one of Mandalika's fast corners. The two riders made contact, forcing Rins wide and down the order to P13, while Marquez continued his charge forward. Race direction wasted little time in responding. The stewards handed Marquez a long lap penalty, ruling his move too aggressive and unfair to Rins. For Marquez, the decision was crushing. He immediately took the penalty, losing several positions and dropping back to P13 himself. With just 13 laps in a sprint race, his hopes for fighting for the podium seemed all but over. Yet, this is Marc Marquez. Giving up is not in his vocabulary. With determination and razor-sharp focus, he launched a relentless fight back. Lap after lap, Marquez attacked, overtaking rivals with a mix of aggression and precision that reminded fans why he is considered one of the greatest riders in MotoGP history. Slowly but surely, he clawed his way up the order, eventually crossing the finish line in 7th place. It may not have been a podium, but the comeback was enough to leave Ducati Corse director Davide Tardozzi in awe. Speaking after the race, Tardozzi revealed he was sweating as he watched Marquez's recovery ride unfold. Marc showed today why he's a true champion. Even when everything went wrong, the start, the penalty, the lost positions, he never gave up. He kept pushing until the very end. That fighting spirit makes us proud. From a technical perspective, Marquez's ride was a masterclass in resilience. Mandalika's layout, with its combination of high-speed corners and unforgiving surface, punishes mistakes and makes overtaking extremely risky. Add the scorching Indonesian heat, and sprint races at Mandalika become survival tests. Yet Marquez thrived under pressure, managing tire wear while staying aggressive enough to make up ground. The penalty itself remains a hot topic of debate. Some analysts argue that the contact with Rins was a racing incident, common in lap 1 chaos, while others believe the stewards were right to penalize Marquez to maintain consistency. Regardless of the controversy, what stood out most was Marquez's refusal to fold under adversity. For Ducati, the result is more than just points. It's proof that Marquez's hunger is intact, and even on his worst weekends, he can still deliver when it matters. With the main race on Sunday still to come, fans are left asking if Marquez could fight back from a penalty to P7 in just 13 laps. What can he do in the full-length Mandalika Grand Prix? One thing is certain, whether you see him as a hero or a villain, Marc Marquez continues to be MotoGP's most electrifying storyline.
Marc Marquez battles Mandalika Curse, 2 heavy crashes in practice, aiming only for top 5 finish. The brand new MotoGP world champion, Marc Marquez, did not enjoy the kind of celebration he may have expected on his first weekend after sealing the 2025 title in Motegi. Instead, the Ducati Lenovo star was humbled at the Pertamina Mandalika International Street Circuit, where the Spanish legend crashed not once, but twice during a dramatic Friday practice session. The weekend had begun with promise. In the opening free practice on Friday morning, Marquez looked sharp, finishing 5th on the timesheets and giving Ducati reason to believe their champion was still hungry despite already clinching the championship crown. But the afternoon practice session told a very different story. Within the first 10 minutes, Marquez lost control at turn 10, one of Mandalika's most demanding corners, and went sliding into the gravel. His Desmo Siddiqui GP25 skidded across the track, while the Spaniard picked himself up, visibly frustrated. That might have been enough drama for one session, but fate had other ideas. Barely half an hour later, Marquez suffered an even heavier fall at turn 5. This time, his body was dragged violently across the tarmac before coming to rest at the edge of the circuit, while his Ducati spun deep into the gravel trap. Though Marquez escaped without injury, the damage was done. His confidence took a hit, and his lap times never recovered. He ended the session in 11th place, over 0.8 of a second adrift of Aprilia's Marco Bezzecchi, who topped the timesheets ahead of Fermin Aldeguer of Gresini Ducati and rookie sensation Pedro Acosta of KTM. The result forces Marquez into Q1 for Saturday's qualifying, a dangerous position for any rider, but especially one with Mandalika's haunting history. For Marquez, the Indonesian venue has been nothing short of cursed. In 2022, a terrifying warm-up crash left him concussed and ruled out of the race. In 2023, still riding for Honda, he crashed again and failed to finish. In 2024, his Ducati GP23 betrayed him with technical problems, forcing another DNF. Now, in 2025, even as the reigning world champion, Mandalika continues to resist him. The Spaniard himself admitted after practice that he no longer thinks about victory here. "This is not my track," Marquez confessed candidly to GP01. "The layout is beautiful, but it doesn't suit me. I don't want to crash anymore this weekend. If I can finish inside the top 5, that will already feel like a success." Marquez pointed to Michelin's tire construction, the so-called carcass, as one of the key factors behind his struggles. "It depends on the track conditions and the carcass we use. It's the tire that changes how the bike behaves, not the engine or anything else. Maybe we've used this carcass before in Buriram, but the way the bike moves here in Mandalika is completely different," he explained. Indeed, Mandalika's combination of tropical heat, abrasive tarmac, and technical corners makes it one of the most demanding circuits on the calendar. Turn 10 is a high-speed corner, where even a fraction of lost grip spells disaster, while Turn 5's elevation change destabilizes the bike on corner entry. Marquez's 2 crashes on Friday perfectly illustrated the razor-thin margins that separate control from chaos. Despite his new status as champion, Marquez's tone was far from triumphant. Instead, he sounded weary, pragmatic, and even vulnerable. "I want to get through this weekend without another crash, and then focus on Australia. Of course, I will try tomorrow. I will push. But when you're 11th, you cannot think about victory, especially when riders like Bezzecchi are this strong. A top 5 would already be a great result." For the millions of fans watching, this raw honesty from one of the sport's fiercest competitors adds another layer of emotion to the weekend. The Mandalika circuit has broken Marquez before, and on Friday, it reminded the world that even legends are not immune to their weaknesses.
Marc Marquez, determined to break the Mandalika curse, eyes victory in Indonesia MotoGP 2025. Will Marc Marquez finally conquer Mandalika? That is the burning question, as the reigning 2025 MotoGP World Champion sets his sights on the Peritima Mandalika International Circuit in Lombok, Indonesia. For years, the Indonesian Grand Prix has been a nightmare for the Spanish superstar. But this October, he returns not only as a champion, but as a man on a mission. Speaking to the media during a press event in Thamrin 9, Jakarta, Marquez showed both humility and determination. Quote, "We have already achieved our target, becoming world champion. Now I just want to enjoy the race," he said calmly, before adding with a firm tone, "But I must stay optimistic about winning, because I have never finished in Lombok." That single line reveals the story of a curse Marquez has yet to break. Since MotoGP first landed in Indonesia in 2022, Mandalika has been nothing short of cruel to Marc Marquez. In its debut season, the 8-time world champion suffered a terrifying high-side crash during qualifying while still with Honda. The impact was so severe that he endured diplopia, double vision, that nearly threatened his entire racing career. The following year, 2023, fate struck again. Marquez crashed out of the race, unable to see the checkered flag. In 2024, now riding Ducati's Desmosedici GP23, it wasn't a crash, but a technical issue that ended his hopes early. Once more, the number 93 was denied even a podium in Lombok. To this day, he has never stood on the Mandalika podium, a track that has been his Achilles heel. The Mandalika International Circuit is known for its tricky layout. 4.3 kilometers with 17 demanding corners, a track that tests both raw speed and rhythm. The tropical climate adds another layer of unpredictability. Riders face scorching heat one moment, then sudden downpours the next. Tire management is another key factor. Michelin often brings special compounds due to the abrasive surface and high track temperatures. For an aggressive rider like Marquez, who thrives on late braking and explosive exits, Mandalika has always been a difficult balance between control and overuse of the tires. But in 2025, Marquez arrives with the Ducati GP25, a bike that has proven almost unbeatable this season, offering both top speed and stability. This may finally be the weapon he needs to conquer his Indonesian curse. Despite his struggles on the track, Marquez holds Indonesia close to his heart. He has been welcomed like a rock star every time he visits, often taking time to relax in Bali and interact with his loyal fan base. Quote, "Indonesia always gives us such big love when we are here," and Marquez said with a smile. "You know I've spent a lot of time in this country, even on holiday in Bali. This year, I had planned to stay in Lombok after the race, but since I just became world champion, I need to return to Spain for several commitments." His words resonated deeply with fans, showing that Mandalika is not just another stop on the calendar, but an emotional journey. For Marc Marquez, the 2025 Indonesian Grand Prix is more than just another race. It's a chance to rewrite history. With no pressure of chasing points, the title already secured, he can ride freely, fearlessly, and perhaps finally taste victory on the island that has so far only given him pain. If he wins, Mandalika will no longer be a symbol of misfortune, but of redemption. For his Indonesian fans, it would be a dream come true, to see the champion they adore standing tall on their home podium. Quote, "Becoming world champion was the goal, but ending the season with a win in Mandalika, that would be the perfect way to close the year." The question now, will 2025 finally be the year Marc Marquez breaks the Mandalika curse?
The MotoGP paddock has always been a breeding ground for drama, speculation, and conspiracy theories. But following Francesco Pecco Bagnaglia's stunning victory in the MotoGP Sprint Race, the Italian rider found himself at the center of a swirling storm. Social media platforms and fan forums erupted with claims that Ducati had allegedly sabotaged Bagnaglia's bike earlier in the season to give Marc Marquez an easier path to the 2025 MotoGP World Championship. For some fans, Pecco's sudden resurgence in Japan after weeks of inconsistency wasn't just a return to form. They argued it was proof that his bike had never truly suffered mechanical issues. Instead, they believed Ducati might have deliberately held Bagnaia back to clear the way for Marquez to make history and surpass Valentino Rossi's legendary tally of world titles. These theories gained traction in online debates, often framed as a storyline too perfect for MotoGP marketing. Marquez, the fallen king, returning on Ducati machinery to claim his 9th world crown. Could Ducati have played a hidden role in orchestrating the narrative? But Bagnaia himself has now spoken out, firmly and emotionally. "Those accusations are excessive and don't make sense," Bagnaia stated after his Motegi triumph. "What happens inside the garage is much more complicated than what you see on track." The reigning two-time champion explained that performance fluctuations are part of MotoGP's relentless complexity. Tiny adjustments in setup, tire conditions, electronics, or track temperatures can transform a rider's pace from dominant to vulnerable within a single weekend. Suggesting that Ducati would sabotage one of its most loyal champions, he emphasized, was disrespectful not only to him, but to the entire team of engineers and mechanics working tirelessly behind the scenes. Bagnaia didn't shy away from addressing Marquez's role in the championship. Instead of fueling rivalry, he praised his new teammates' grit and resilience. Marc has worked harder than anyone. He deserves the title because of his effort and determination. What he's achieved after so many injuries and setbacks is extraordinary. His words carried the weight of a rider who knows both the ecstasy of winning and the despair of struggling. Bagnaia himself had endured a period of confusion earlier in the season, losing the feel of the bike that had once made him unstoppable. The breakthrough in Motegi, aided by Ducati's technical adjustments that drew inspiration from the previous Desmosedi GP23, restored his confidence. But Pecco was clear, that solution came through trial and error, not through manipulation. Behind the emotions lies a bigger truth. MotoGP is not scripted entertainment. Ducati's engineers are chasing perfection, and every rider, whether it's Marquez, Bagnaia, Jorge Martin, or Enea Bastianini, demands equal attention. In fact, Dal Yigna and Ducati management have often reiterated that no rider receives preferential treatment when it comes to machinery. Still, the speculation reveals something deeper about the MotoGP fan base. Supporters are emotionally invested, and when results don't align with expectations, they search for hidden explanations. Conspiracy theories are almost inevitable when legendary figures like Marquez and Rossi are involved, because every victory or defeat is magnified by decades of history. For Bagnaia, however, the focus is clear. He wants to silence the noise, rediscover his best form, and continue fighting for victories. The Italian star knows that proving himself on track is the only way to answer the doubters. And while Marc Marquez lifts his 9th World Championship trophy, Bagnaia's emotional denial of sabotage rumors reminds the world that MotoGP remains brutally real, fueled not by hidden scripts, but by sweat, sacrifice, and the burning will to win.
In the world of MotoGP, not every practice session tells the story of pure dominance. Sometimes, even the greatest champions reveal their human side, their struggles, and their moments of doubt. This time, it was Marc Marquez, the 8-time world champion, who openly admitted his confusion after a dramatic Friday practice at the Twin Ring Motegi, Japan. The Ducati Lenovo star entered the Japanese round with high expectations. Motegi, after all, is a circuit filled with memories for Marquez, where he has celebrated world titles in the past. Yet on Friday, September 26, 2025, things did not start the way many fans anticipated. For a full 60 minutes of practice, Marquez fought hard just to break into the top 10. His first attempt at a time attack was far from impressive. Stopping the clock at 1 minute 43 seconds, .958 seconds, it wasn't enough to place him inside the crucial 10. The Spaniard knew something was wrong. His body language showed it as he returned to the garage, shaking his head and speaking quickly with his crew chief, Marco Rigamonti. The second outing, however, told a different story. With only minutes remaining, Marquez dug deep. In one of those classic never-give-up moments, he unleashed a lap of 1 minute 43 seconds, .360, catapulting himself into the top 3 by the end of the session. The relief was visible, but the truth came out later when Marquez spoke to the press. Today was strange and complicated, Marquez confessed with honesty. The sensations I felt were not what I expected. We were a bit lost, especially during the afternoon session. We wanted to find the right feeling too quickly, and that desire led us into mistakes. It was a rare admission from the legendary rider, who is often known for his unstoppable self-belief. But this is what makes Marquez's journey fascinating. Behind the fearless image of a rider who risks everything, there lies a man who battles with doubts, with setups, with changing track conditions. What saved him in Japan was not raw speed, but something far more valuable: experience and composure. In the final minutes, we managed to recover. Experience told us not to panic, and keeping calm was the key, Marquez added. For his fans, this honesty is emotional and inspiring. To see a champion like Marquez, who has conquered pain, injuries, and countless crashes, still struggling with confusion, yet turning it into strength, is a reminder that greatness is not about perfection. It's about resilience. As the weekend continues, the Motegi story is far from over. Saturday's qualifying and Sunday's main race will reveal whether this moment of struggle was just a temporary cloud or a warning that Marquez must adapt quickly. One thing is certain: Marc Marquez has once again shown that even in confusion, his fighting spirit shines through. And for MotoGP fans, that is why his story continues to capture hearts around the world.